Now, more of Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute, the only show directly addressing the problems and solutions for Illinois. Now, from AM 560, here's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Pat Hughes, co-founder of the Illinois Opportunity Project, in this edition of Illinois Rising. And Pat, kind of a bombshell to start the week, and that was a staffing change. This is a little bit of inside baseball for most people, but as everybody in their work life understands, personnel is policy at your place of employment. Senior personnel matter. And so Governor Rauner decided to make a change at the chief of staff level coming out of a legislative session and special session in which, difficult to say that anything other than Governor Rauner was the big loser, in addition to those 15 Republicans in the House and Dale Ryder in the Senate who surrendered to Chicago Democrats. They were also big losers. He made a change at Chief of Staff, his Chief of Staff Rich Goldberg being replaced by Christina Rasmussen, a friend of both of ours, the former president of the Illinois Policy Institute, becoming his Chief of Staff. And of course, that has garnered the anticipated response from the big government press corps in Chicago and Springfield, which is to say, Governor Rauner is tacking right. He's going to be now more unyielding and less open to compromise. This is a bad thing. It's, right-wing crazies and, people who believe in balanced books and lower taxes and a better business climate. People are nuts.
Yeah, well, first of all, I've got to give the governor credit. He came out of a terrible circumstance with the budget vote and the override, and he just looked very bad, and his staff handled it very poorly, and he should have never gone down that road calling the session to begin with. And of course he did, and it was a disaster. So I'm going to give him credit because this is a really good move. Christina Rasmussen is extremely bright. She is nothing like she's being portrayed in some of the local press as sort of this right-wing zealot. It's just craziness, right? This is a very responsible, very smart person who is going to help the governor go back to his original branding and his original position. I'm going to reform Illinois. I'm going to shake up Springfield. I'm going to try to get the turnaround agenda, and I'm going to fight for the people and the taxpayers and the families of Illinois. And that's what Rasmussen, through Illinois Policy Institute, has done her entire career. And now she's going to help the governor, hopefully, do the things he said he was going to do originally before he was captured by the staff that the press loved. They loved that staff. Why? Because they capitulated everything that the press and the left wanted. So this is a great first step, but I think it should only be the first step.
Yeah, Christina is very sharp and very charming, but she's also very tough. And
totally,
it's a good combination of qualities in addition to being bright, as you say, and be very policy oriented. And she's also made it clear from the outset, and this is being ignored by the usual people and the usual outlets who would ignore such proclamations, but that she is there to help execute Governor Rauner's policy agenda as he articulated as both a candidate and for some of the last 2.5 years intermittently. Not there to, implement Illinois Policy Institute white papers. Big difference. It's gone unnoticed. Here's another interesting little factoid about Christina Rasmussen that a lot of people don't know. She's married to Heinrich Rasmussen, who's the son of the former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen. He's Danish. So all the lefties that want us to be a European socialist democracy, they should love the fact that she's got that connection to, to the Danes and to NATO, big social welfare state countries.
How about I'd like to see all like the women in the General Assembly. I think Christina might be. Is she the first female chief of staff?
There was another one prior to her under Quinn.
But regardless, like how the feminists are and the left are always like, oh look, a woman in a position of influence. Well, here's Christina, bright woman, talented. She's young in a position of influence, and it's like
You're so naive.
I know it's my point is it's just crickets with respect to that. They're going to annihilate her the same way they'd annihilate Condi Rice or Sarah Palin or whoever is on the right that's a female that doesn't adhere to their thing. So the bottom line
is... It's like the NAACP with conservative African Americans. You think they elevate Clarence Thomas or Thomas Sowell or Walter Williams or Bob Woodson or Jason Riley? No,
they say terrible racist things about them,
right.
Like they're captured by the left, like they're Uncle Toms, like whatever, right? So here's the thing. Rauner got captured by staff because he was mostly an inexperienced politician and governor, even though his heart and mind and thoughts were in the right place. And that caused a lot of problems. And now the staff has changed. It's a change for the better. And my hope is, this will be a pivot for the rest of this, year and then towards the next year's election.
Well, right. I mean, that's the key. I mean, ultimately, of course, the Illinois political world was obsessed with this staffing decision because all the operatives are obsessed with it, and they run to their favored reporter and start bending people's ears and trying to whip people into a frenzy to their point of view. So that's what dominates the coverage. But ultimately, this is a Rauner problem, his standing right now, a year and a half before his reelection. And ultimately, Christina or anybody else, no matter what he does with staff changes, ultimately he has to make a decision. Right now, it seems to me he's still doing this Yogi Bear routine. He's at a fork in the road and he's going to take it.
Right.
He has to decide which direction he is going to go. Is he going to operate consistent with the candidate he was and how he started his term as governor? Or is he going to be the guy who's been befuddled for the last year and a half, largely negotiating with himself in public, very erratic in terms of his decision-making, both in terms of staff, as well as communications, as well as policy direction? That's the choice that he has to make, and then he will have now, I think, a very talented chief of staff and perhaps other staff changes. I know that some have been made and perhaps more are coming to round out a team to help him be the best he can be as he was as a candidate and in the beginning of his term. But ultimately, still, they can't make that decision for him. Ultimately, this still rises or falls with the governor, and he has to kind of want to be in that space and then utilize all the talent around him to make him the best he can be, taking that posture. And that's yet to be seen.